Only 33 fellows, what is this nonsense? And this fellow, these IIT fellows, whether they know how to answer questions or not, they're good in asking questions to you. So they asked, Uncle, do you know how many guides are there in this country to guide students for PhD or world class in computer science? And when you become as old as me, what happens is you never reveal your ignorance. So you ask the question, you tell. That means you don't know the answer. So this fellow said, showed the finger 8. Only 8 people in this country can guide students for PhD in computer sciences for the global standard. Therefore, we have done some corrections in this point. Fundamentally, the opportunities in the public sector will rise for well-trained PhDs in this country at this moment, because IITs are operating something like a 60% of the sanction strength. Okay, there are let me say 7 old IITs. They are operating at somewhere all the 7 IITs have about 4,000 faculty members in all of them together. But the sanction strength is close to 6,500. And they have 2,500 vacancies in those positions. And 8 new IITs are there. And the ratio permitted by the government is student to staff ratio 10 to 1. 10 students on 1. They will raise that number. So fundamentally, there will be in IIT systems alone something like 4,000 new positions at the moment for well-trained doctoral scholars, because most of those institutions require 3 years of postdoctoral experience for induction. So our public institutions want somebody else to train you first, give you a job, train, and only then they will take it. So that is there's a gap, supply gap. The 61 new institutions I talked about have created about 30,000 new jobs for the people who have well-trained systems. Fundamentally, the real challenge is something more complex than what Elsevier would have presented to you. In this country, we have 1,200 multinational companies that have invested in India for R&D services here. Okay, they have created R&D units in this country because the expertise cost in this country is low, and the per dollar invested, the returns are proportionately high. That's why these companies are here. That's one kind of job. But those jobs create IQ for this Indian IQ will produce IPR for those companies which invested. This is one side. That's one employer. Indian companies have not invested adequately into R&D so far. Primarily, our training in PhD also has to be revisited in this process. Most of us in a PhD period process, we are in the study mode, investigations and studies. Okay, we study this parameter, study that parameter, and observations. Industries want solutions, not just observations. So we need to ask whether our PhD training can actually train people to solve a problem. And that's a very different method. Solving a problem is different from studying a phenomenon. And this is not often possible for institutions to build this. So what we then did something called Prime Minister's Doctoral Fellowship Scheme in the Department of Science initiated, 100 per year, just 100 per year. And we said the industry will put in X amount of money, which is equivalent to what the government will provide. The government will provide what normal fellowship processes are, but the problem needs to have interest to the industry. And that process is to create a culture of addressing a PhD project which will actually solve problems of industry. Okay? Most of the times, industrial leaders are saying that our research scholars do not have adequate expertise in addressing the problems. So this is one of the ways that we can build. Selection of the project for a doctoral training is crucial in whether it's to academic science or doing in industrial science. In my younger days, when I was a BTech student, I used to somehow the university felt I was too complicated a guy to be in the undergraduate hostel. So they positioned me in the postgraduate hostel when I was still an undergraduate student. And a single undergraduate student in a PG postgraduate hostel. So one of these days, somebody asked one of the other students doing PhD, "Hey, what is your PhD problem?" I was 19 years old. I said, his main problem is a guide. So this was my response to this problem. I think the jokes apart, selection of the problem which addresses a question is framing the right question is an issue. Therefore, this culture of expansion of PhD project will create this initial phase, but I don't think this 15% is sacrosanct. Okay, the total number of fellowships covered until I told you when the day you came in was 15-16% only. Majority of them were self-financing. Okay, now this fellowship expansion has happened. Support to good people will come in. So don't worry about it. It's get corrected. Okay. Any other question? Yeah. Because I gave a long answer.
Why none of the any universities of India are listed in top 200 university list? And another question is from such a long time, no Nobel laureates in a science field. So what we are lacking?
You're not lacking anything. Don't worry. Can you tell me why Gandhi was not given Nobel Prize and Obama was given 12 days after election? Can you tell me this? Gandhi didn't deserve Nobel Prize. And remember, he was nominated for Nobel Prize. Yes. Rejected in 1947. Not that he was not nominated. Gandhi was nominated in 1947 and the 5-member committee met. 2 people said yes, 2 people said no. The chairman voted against Gandhi. Okay? You think Gandhi didn't deserve Nobel Prize? Gandhi was larger than Nobel Prize. Okay? Don't worry about it. The reason I'm giving you this counter, I think the research must be done well. Nobel Prize is, you don't do research for the sake of a prize. You do it, and the prize work is good enough, you get a prize. Okay? And the only person who did work for the prize and got it was C.V. Raman. Okay? I don't know, are you familiar with the C.V. Raman's profile? Let me now give you for the benefit of those who are new. C.V. Raman finished his MA in physics when he was 19 years old from Presidency College and published a paper in Nature as a student of the MA class. Okay? He started his research on mridangam, on sound. Then he felt you won't get a Nobel Prize if you worked on mridangam. Okay? Then he also found that this research will give him no salary, his stomach will not be too empty. So he went and took the examination to become an accountant general office, became a civil servant. He passed this exam and became assistant accountant general in Calcutta. So he made his money working for the accountant office, general's office, got his salary from there. His next door was a a private institution, Indian Association of Cultivation of Sciences. And he went to the director after 7 years and said, you give me a place to work for a research here, I win the Nobel Prize in 5 years. He told. Those guys built a staircase from his house to come to this institute back and forth. So he doesn't have to go across the road. So he did research truly as what I call amateur research, not professional. And his living was made from Accountant General's office. He made money. He needed research support. There was no Department of Science and Technology, fortunately, at that time. So what happened was he used to buy land, sell it away, make gain, use that gain money for research. So he built his Raman spectrometer for 75 rupees from this kind of realization. And he published his paper in 1928. And then he bought his ticket to go and receive the Nobel Prize after the paper was published. Okay? And they didn't give it to him that year. He bought the ticket to go to the Nobel Prize 1 year before the prize is announced. Okay? 1 year before the Nobel Prize is announced. And he went and finally they gave him the prize in 1930. When he went to the prize, they gave him alcohol to drink. He said, I got Nobel Prize for doing Raman effect on alcohol. These guys are trying to do the alcohol effect on Raman. So he was a very different individual. So let us not talk about Raman as Ramasami, Ramasami as Raman. They are not the same. Fundamentally, this question of why there is no Nobel Prize in sciences is not something that we should express as an anxiety or as a some kind of a inadequacy. Okay? You need to have a critical mass of high performers in a country for you to be deserving such recognitions as a country. If you talk about why Bose did not get a Nobel Prize, we can answer that. J.C. Bose discovered radio before Marconi. Okay? Marconi was aware of that. But you can't give an argument. S.N. Bose. There's a guy, Ramachandran. J.N. Ramachandran published triple helical structure of collagen, 1954 August Nature. 1954 February, the double helical structure of DNA was published. Okay? Triple helix was solved in the same year. And people thought this fellow might be a competitor. And somebody raised this question, oh, this structure is wrong. It cannot be right because of some spherical problem. So this guy got very emotional, went ahead and did a theory. And sure, there is something called Ramachandran plot today, which was predicted before any experiment was done. Ramachandran plot today is a very classical citation protein conformation. And then he is a father of holography. He published his paper in 1970, Proceeds of Academy of Sciences of the United States, image reconstruction. 3 pieces of work. Triple helix, Ramachandran plot, high sci angles, and this business of holography. And if you asked, I was a student when Linus Pauling came to Chennai and said, but for the fact that this guy is an Indian who got Nobel Prize long time ago. Ramachandran, it is not my statement, it is Pauling's statement. So therefore, let us not discuss this as if it's some failure problem. If you, as a country, you don't have critical mass of that cutting edge questions being addressed. That's a question that we must address. Fundamentally, the question that we need to ask is not how to get Nobel Prize. Question is whether we have Nobel Prize quality work being done in this country or not. Prize will come on its own if you've done a good job. We do not have sufficient number of people asking those very important questions in science in this country at this moment. And it has several other problems. It is not just a scientific issue. It's a cultural problem. Okay? When I was a student, in tennis it used to be called ABC of cricket, tennis. Amritraj, Borg and Connors. Okay? Borg and Connors won the Wimbledon. Amritraj never did. Alright? Forget that. The year when Connors won, I saw the match myself. Those as a PhD student, I spent fortune to go to Wimbledon. And the year Connors won the Wimbledon finals, Amritraj was leading 2-0. Okay? And he was serving for the match on the third set. Okay? It so happened, the umpire announced Amritraj won. Amritraj said, no, he touched my racket before it went out. And therefore he declared that it just touched his racket. And Amritraj played from then on and lost the match. Okay, he lost that set, he lost the next set, he lost the next set, and Connors won. And became a champion at the end. Therefore, there is a huge cultural challenge that we have. Let us not get into those issues. But what is important in this country is to get talented people come to do research of that class that the world will respect. Okay? And we don't have sufficient number in any one discipline to be able to make that critical impact. Okay? That is being altered today. If you have 2%, our percentage of scientists, full-time equivalent scientists of India, is about 2% of the world supply of scientists, the density. And we have now about 4% of the publications. Okay? This is statistical, that you need to get strong discoveries. And we do not have such institutions which will attract those people to come. You ask this question, why we do not have our institutions top 100 ranks? This question is the government is asking, and you're also asking the same question. Right? And media's favorite question this is, I'm sure somebody had read you this. Surely, any ranking system is based on metrics. You must have impacts of these university graduates on society. So there is some 40% rating for that kind of historical responses. Then say how many international students you have, what a citation per paper, and so on, so on, so on. Fundamentally, organized research in this country is what, for academics, 15 years is one generation. It's about 4 generations old. And some of the most performing institutions which are high in the global rank